Salute everybody. I want to welcome everybody to this demonstration. First and foremost, I want to send a happy Father's Day shout out to all of the fathers out there. Salute to the chat. Salute to the replay gang. Salute to my moderators. Let me welcome my Facebook family and friends to join us on this demonstration. Okay, I think it's in there. Let's see. All right, I want to welcome everybody from the Facebook world over to this demonstration. Let me read my copyright disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. What that means is that everything that you hear in this demonstration is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Now, what we're going to discuss in this demonstration, we're going to discuss the welfare statistics for each race, and also we're going to discuss the Christmas tree. What's the true meaning behind the Christmas tree? Should we be celebrating Christmas or not? Kind of behind. So just bear with me, y'all, while I get things together. All right, now, the current form of welfare in the United States, established by the Social Security Act of 1935. It began in 1935. Now, I believe it was 7 years in the making. They had it on the books for 7 years, but it didn't get started until 1935. The act created programs like aid to families with dependent children, AFDC, and old age assistance, which provided federal grants to states for various social welfare. Y'all know I messed them words up, but y'all know the word that I'm talking about. Now, let me grab up some of my notes. Now, the old age assistance, another key component of the 1935 Act was the creation of old age assistance, a program designed to provide financial support to elderly individuals who were not eligible for Social Security benefits. You got the federal grants. The Social Security Act established a system where the federal government would provide grants to states to help them administer and fund these social welfare programs. Pre-1935 welfare, while the 1935 Act marked the beginning of a comprehensive federal welfare program, some forms of public assistance existed prior to that time, often at the state or local level. For example, the first Department of Public Welfare was established in Kansas City, Missouri in 1910. So basically, welfare is it was not just started just for single parents. Many people, because we got to keep in mind that through time, a lot of information such as this wasn't passed down. So today, in today's time, many people believe that welfare is just for single mothers. Welfare was started for single mothers, and that's not the case. You also got and I believe I read it, but I'll read it again. The Social Security Act of 1935 This landmark legislation marked the start of a comprehensive federal social welfare program in the United States. I'm coming. What president came up with welfare? It says in the United States, the Great Depression led to President Franklin D. Roosevelt's introduction of the Aid to Families with Dependent Children program and the Social Security program through the Social Security Act, which created a public welfare system to provide assistance to various dependent persons in need. So it was during the Great Depression that President Franklin D. Roosevelt introduction to this. Many people want to know which party started the welfare system. The welfare system in the United States was not started by one single party, but rather evolved through the efforts of both Democratic and Republican administrations and Congresses. While the Democratic Party has historically been more associated with expanding social safety net programs, the Republican Party has been more focused on welfare reform and reducing government's intervention. So I guess when people say when it comes to both parties, it's different birds, same bird, different branches. Happy Father's Day, Roasted Toast. And happy Father's Day to all other fathers that's down there in my chat and every father that's watching this. Okay, here's some key developments. The New Deal era. It says President Franklin D. Roosevelt, a Democrat, initiated many of the foundational programs that became the basis of the modern welfare system, including Social Security and the aid to families with dependent children. Great Society. President Lyndon B. Johnson, also a Democrat, expanded the welfare state significantly with his Great Society incentives, which included Social Security, food stamps, Job Corps, and Head Start. How many of y'all was aware of that? How many of y'all was aware of that Head Start and Job Corps fell under a form of welfare, and that was through Lyndon B. Johnson? Let me grab a comment or two. It was to help the white people because they were doing so bad and we were thriving in the towns we had built. And that's true. That's true. And I'm going to get to that when I get to the statistics. Roosevelt created welfare, GI Bill, SS Act, housing vouchers, or HUD, etc. All these programs were created during Great Depression. They were not to last forever, but they became a money grab. And that's also true. Yes. Salute Life Tips. So it goes on to say welfare reform era. In the late 20th century, both Republican and Democratic leaders, including President Clinton, moved towards welfare reform, aiming to reduce dependence on government assistance and encourage work. The Republican Congress in 1996 pushed through the Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Reconciliation Act, which was signed into law by President Clinton. Continued evolution. The welfare system continues to evolve with ongoing debates and changes and policies driven by both parties in public opinion. Let me ask you all this. Drop a one if you think that it's time for us to do away with government assistance. Drop a one. Drop a two if you feel like the American people still needs government assistance. Let me see where you all are at. Salute, Snoopy. Salute, Snoopy. Happy Father's Day. Because this is something that has been around for a minute. Some people feel like we should get rid of welfare. Some people feel like we don't. For elderly and disabled, we gained that power, our power, back during the Black Panther movement when they started feeding our own church and our neighborhoods before school and providing lunch as well. And that's so true. That's so true. For elderly and disabled, I'm half and half, because if it's not built to make us U.S. citizens, regardless of race, creed, or whatever, but if it's not there to help them, then yes, I feel it should be put away. Well, they were created due to bad deals made by government, which crashed the stock market. At this time, Black Wall Street was not affected. So basically, whites use these benefits. And as I said before, I'm going to cover all of that when we go deeper. Now, okay, let's look at it, because a lot of people feel like, why does race always play into this, particularly non-blacks? The majority of Black people, we get it, and we understand why it's about race. But for those non-blacks, and for the little bit of blacks that don't understand, but for those non-blacks that don't understand and wish that Black people could move past the race, it's impossible for us to move past the race car until things are fixed. There was a time when things were segregated. And to this day, we are still holding on, not by choice, but things from when we were segregated still affects us blacks today, like welfare being initially started for white families. How did Black families end up on welfare? I'm going to cover that. And but contrary to what people have been programmed to believe, the majority of those families that use government assistance is Caucasians. Caucasians lead every group in the United States of America when it comes to receiving government assistance. How did Black families end up on public assistance? Okay, some want to know, where does the money for welfare come from? The programs provide health care, food subsidies, housing assistance, and child care assistance to those in need. The benefits vary by state. Most are funded by federal government, which distributes money to the states through a program called Temporary Assistance for Needy Families. So the funds come from the government. And this is a good question. It says, what percentage of welfare recipients vote? It says voter turnout among welfare recipients in 2000 was 29%. compared with 47% of those who did not receive this form of assistance. Why are people against welfare? Many have argued that the provision of tax-funded services or transfer payments reduces the incentive for workers to seek employment, thereby reducing the need to work, reducing the rewards of work and poverty. Do Democrats or Republicans have more money? I'll read this. It says Republicans had markedly higher household income and net worth in both the graduate and sibling samples. In the graduate sample, Republicans attained slightly higher education levels. Republicans also reported higher levels of traits reflecting personal responsibility than Democrats, including lower avoidance coping. I'm going to take some comments and then I'm going to go into the actual statistics. It's more white people on assistance than any other race. Black Wall Street was burned down, which blacks then had to resort to the welfare, which in turn became a crutch as black men left home looking for work. Many never returned. Systemic racism is still happening, so how can that be overlooked? But Shank, what if you have that select few of those white people that really don't need to help but take it anyway? I feel you. And, you know, there are those that, in my opinion, do take advantage of the welfare system. And in my opinion, that's on all sides of, you know, the track. But there are whites that do take advantage of it. I wish I could get Medicaid. It's better than any insurance. I think all Americans should have free Medicaid. It's to help when in need, but it gets abused. Yes, it does get abused. You know, give me a minute, y'all. Let me take a quick break because I need to search for something real quick. So give me a minute and we're going to come back. I'm going to take a break and we'll come back. Why do you think Keefe D is trying to throw you under the bus by implicating you being in the Tupac's murder?
Well, to be honest, I think it's all the conspirators out there or the conspiracy channels that's out there that's feeding his head. I saw that his son been dealing with this white guy. I don't want to call him a saltine like I want to say, but this guy that got a wig on his hair. I call him Uncle Fester. He got a channel, and they've been pushing that theory and snitch no joke and all of them. They be pushing no theory. So when you start listening to all of them, and the PI that the court appointed them came out with this theory with it being on the case for 3 or 4 days. And then they were like, oh, it was Reggie Wright Jr. We got, but as the DA and everybody told me, say, Reggie, that's just a delayed tactic. They trying to delay the tactic.
All right, let me go into some of the statistics, y'all. While Black Americans are overrepresented in some welfare programs like TANF, they are not the majority of welfare recipients overall. It comes on to say white Americans actually make up the largest percentage of welfare recipients in the U.S. According to research from the Urban Institute in 2019, for example, white individuals made up the largest percentage of recipients across various welfare programs, according to the Urban Institute. However, Black Americans are more likely than white Americans to be recipients of certain programs like supplemental security income. Here's a more detailed breakdown. It says the SNAP program, that's the Supplemental Nutrition Assistant Program. About 37% of SNAP recipients are white, 26% are African American, and 16% are Hispanic. Then it goes on to say, according to the food stamp research, temporarily assistance for needy families, Black individuals are disproportionately represented in TANF compared to their percentage of the general population. Overall welfare recipients, while Black Americans are overrepresented in some programs, white Americans make up the largest percentage of overall welfare recipients. There's a tendency to overestimate the percentage of Black people on welfare, fueled by stereotypes and media portrayals, according to the Center for Economic Policy Research. And this is what we have been saying for the longest time. When it comes to Black Americans, we go through discrimination, we go through the Jim Crow, we go through redlining, we go through the system purposely spreading false narratives about us. We go through us as a people, the negative side of us, we go through that being promoted. No other group of people have to go through what we go through. Why not promote the positive images of us? We've been saying this for the long time. Bill Cosby, the reason why Bill Cosby was sent to prison was because Bill Cosby wanted to own his own network. He had the money. He definitely had the money. Now, for all of us that has been around long enough to know Bill Cosby's work, we already know Bill Cosby would have been putting on his network, he would have been showing positive images of us. It's not strange that Tyler Perry is able to keep, and he ran Medea. Tyler Perry ran Medea in the dirt until he couldn't run her no more. But why is it okay for the negative side of Black Americans? Why is it okay for that to be promoted and, get the likes? Prime example, this demonstration that I'm doing. 40 people watching. Now, if I was on here and if I was spreading a bunch of lies and a bunch of BS, I would have 500, 600, 1,000. If I twist the narrative. See, so that's why it's important for us. It's very important for us to fix things. So for all this time, and it's still being promoted as Black people need to get off welfare. Black Americans are abusing and using welfare. The same way now how the Latinos are trying to put the blame on Black Americans for not getting out there and helping them protest. The Latino woman got on the news and said, it's Black people down there that's looting. We get blamed for everything wrong. We get blamed for everything negative in this country. Everything. And when you do your homework, you find out they ran a play on Black Americans. Black Americans are the only group of people that get plays ran on them over and over and over and over again. Now I'm reading statistics now, and this is why I wanted to do this demonstration, and this is why I didn't want to go off of my opinion. I wanted to use data. You all can look this up. I said, let me do this demonstration whereas though I'm using their data. But this is coming from them. Let's see. I'm coming. Let me grab some comments. The first welfare queen was a white woman that the media tried to paint as Black, and they are famous. They are famous for doing this. Facts, I got tired of seeing Medea because he paints us Blacks in a negative light on a regular, and people good with it. Exactly. And people do speak up, because when you watch the Tyler Perry movies, it's always the same stereotype. It always show Black men. Only, I think he had maybe one or two movies that he done that was highlighting Black men, you know, in a good way. Now, Daddy's Little Girl, I love that movie. He was able to show a Black man taking care of his daughters. But when you look at Tyler Perry movies, it's the same old thing. Black man is up to no good. The Black woman is always struggling. And then it's like, show, and you got the power. See, this is what I'm saying about having the power. Now, for those filmmakers that are struggling, for those filmmakers that are trying to get their foot in the door, I could understand them, you know, making a movie about the streets. I could understand that to get their foot in. But we're talking about Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry has the power to make whatever movies he wants to make. See, that's the difference between Bill Cosby. That's the difference between a Spike Lee. And see, that's why they could not allow Bill Cosby to have his own network. You know, he would have been showing positive images. But Tyler Perry, when are you going to show the Black family unit together? No BS. Show the Black family unit being successful, working together. Show some problems, because all families have problems. But show a real Black family. Show a real Black family. Stop showing Black women ratchet and ignorant, even though there are. But we tired of seeing the same old images. That's programming the babies. What you put in front of a baby, what you put in front of a child, is what that child or baby is going to imitate. You can't get around that. And that's why in other households, they don't feed their babies this garbage that we feed our babies. And see, many people will say, I got to do it for the money. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't have to sell your soul for the money. That's selling your soul. Get it together, Tyler Perry. As a white Asian person, I believe white people take advantage of the welfare more than any other race there is. And you're absolutely right, April. And I'm going to give my opinion on it, because white people can get away with things that we can't get away with. Y'all can get away with things that we can't get away with, you know? And this is why we fight so hard to destroy white supremacists. It's that white supremacist mind frame. It's those white supremacist laws. It's this white supremacist system that keeps this stuff going. Let's keep it real. All the other non-white races have been eating off our plate, and then they say we need to work harder. Facts. Facts. And they've been using us. That's why this time around, Lord have mercy, I'm so glad. And once again, God chooses who he chooses. It's all up to God. God can make a donkey talk. God can use a fool to get his message delivered to millions. Never underestimate the power of God. We've all seen it. We've all seen it. I am so thankful for the way I grew up, the melting pot crew. Is it the image or the stories? That's why I haven't watched his newest movie. In his movies, there's always some adultery, always dysfunctional families. Are there not any other race that have these problems but us? Facts, Talonda. Facts. You know, facts. We tired of that. We're tired. Our babies are watching this. Come on. It's not up to them to produce positive images of black people. It's up to us. That's when we got to take the blame. Now, we may not be guilty of this. We may not be guilty of that. But Black Americans, we are guilty of the images of us that's being portrayed. I don't want to hear nothing about the media, because the last time I checked, not only Tyler Perry, there are thousands of black men and women that have access to promote positive images of us. We gotta promote positive images of us. It's no way around it. We cannot get around promoting positive images of us. We're not. But that's when it falls on us. And it says, come on now. Salute Brother Nazir. Brother Nazir, I'm going to drop the link if you want to join me on the panel. And anybody else that want to join me on the panel, feel free. And make sure y'all subscribe to Brother Nazir. Brother Nazir is over there dropping content just like this. Yes, Shank, amen. I'm so thankful that we not out there. Exactly. One love, so true. World peace. Salute, virtuous. All right. It says, I'm looking for the statistics. Give me a minute, y'all. Let me grab the updated statistic. Salute, brother Nazir. Talk to me.
Salute, brother. I caught the tail end of, but I caught enough to get the gist of. Let me click off this. Yeah, I caught enough to get the gist of the what you're going with, and I totally agree. It is up to us to promote positive images of ourselves, just like it's up to us to change our condition. And the key word to that is it's our condition. And I don't think it's a benevolent person out there who would make it their business to go and change our condition. So I agree with you, brother, wholeheartedly that if we have a quote unquote propaganda machine and we don't promote positive images of ourselves, I don't care whether it's news or what you and I do, or on a very much larger scale to promote positive images of ourselves, we can't complain about the negative images that's put out by people. We have friends and we have enemies, and we have enemies that pretend to be friends. So, I'll land right there for now, but I agree with everything you said, brother. Salute to you for even speaking about this.
Appreciate you, brother Nazir. Slide in, Mel.
Salute, Shank. Salute, brother Nazir.
Salute. Greetings.
Thank you. Salute. I mean, Shank, I just wanted to beg to differ with you about one thing.
Okay.
About Tyler Perry. His TV shows are the shows that are about the Black family as a unit. His movies basically are telling stories. And who else can tell the stories of Black women other than him or anybody else? If it weren't for him, who would have known about Hidden Figures? Or what was the other one he did about the ladies in NASA? Those were hidden stories, hidden in history. I mean, I have 2 degrees and took 4 years of history as a part of my degree, and I never heard of those women. And women history was the hardest history I had to take. I never heard of those women. But his TV shows now, they are about the Black family unit with 2 parents in the house. So I just wanted to get that part out.
And go ahead, Mel. Go ahead.
Okay, and then the other part that I wanted to share, and we can only share it with us, right? But getting back into the, how the welfare system all came about, and we always talk about United States, a corporation, right? Well, that's when it went apart when the United States was first becoming a corporation, but they crashed the stock market. And so what happened, to be honest with you, didn't really have anything to do with Black folks, because Black Wall Street, they were strong. They wasn't experiencing that. But what it was is a lot of factory workers, which were white men. They either left their homes because in order for the women and the children to get those benefits, the man can't be in the home. And to be honest with you, a lot of those men that worked in those factories, it's sad to say this, guys, but they jumped to their death. They committed suicide. Now, keep in mind, Black Wall Street wasn't affected by that because, we were segregated, right? Everything was Black owned. So then they designed the welfare system to help those women. Then once they burned down Black Wall Street, then we fell into that destitute, right? But there was always a thing where in order to receive those benefits, the man couldn't be in a home. So that's when a lot of Black households broke up, because the men had to leave to find work, but the women couldn't get the benefits as long as they were there. So a lot of men left home, and unfortunately, they went to other states. They were there working, And they kind of forgot about their families that they left behind, and they got other families and had other kids. And we see that to this day. Cousins finding cousins they ain't know, and that's just how it was, unfortunately. However, when Roosevelt designed those systems, they weren't supposed to last forever. But they became then a money grab. If you could understand what I'm saying there.
Yes.
And not only so it may say, okay, well, it's benefiting the black people, it's benefiting the white, whoever they thought it was benefiting. Those showed us where all those monies was going. I'm sorry, but they did. Creating a situation to make money or print money. Is that what I'm trying to say? Print money?
Mm-hmm.
Creating situations to print money. So, reading the guidelines of some of those programs, especially since it's all a part of the welfare program, the one most important part of that program, other than getting like food stamps or Medicaid or anything, it was always the HUD. It was always that. We just didn't take advantage of it. But the white folks did. They go in and had their little house and they own it. And then you look, they buying a bigger house because that was the starter house. That's how they bought the starter houses, through the HUD program. Right? Okay, yeah, we'll go and pay you rent for a little bit. We'll let you build your credit, get on your feet. Bam, now guess what? You have earned the right to go and buy another house through HUD. Or you pay for this house while they're helping you. And unfortunately, not everybody took advantage of it. But it's all in the stipulations, but because everything seems to be free housing or my rent's $5 and this, that, and now I can do this. We didn't take advantage of the real benefit of that. Build my credit. I'm saving my money while they paying my rent. And now guess what? I'm going to buy my own house. That was just one of the great benefits of it. Now that it's coming to an end, it's really sad because when I bought my first house, it was under. I know HUD had something to do with it. That's what they call it, like the first time home buyers program. All of that. All you have to do is work, save your money, get your credit right, and that's how you build your generational wealth through owning stuff, right? A lot of these programs should have been gone. I think the only one that they were gonna keep around was the GI Bill, even Social Security. That's why they keep saying, "Oh, Social Security is going away." But these corporations can't run their companies good enough for, you put your money in 401k. That's all that is. It's just your company using your money, right? But when America, the corporation crashes, guess who else crashes? Your company, 401k. Then your money go down or go away. You feel me? So I probably rambled on too long and probably provided too much information that may not have been in the realm of y'all conversation. I'm sorry.
No, you was on point. Let me switch lanes to this second part of this demonstration. And because I had mentioned it on yesterday's demonstration about the Latinos expecting us to protest with them, I spoke on the Christmas tree, and I wasn't sure whether it was Jeremiah or Nehemiah, but it is Jeremiah 10:3-4. And I'll read it. It says, for the customs, let me come all the way up. It says, hear the word that Jehovah has spoken against you, O house of Israel. This is what Jehovah says. Do not learn the way of the nations. Remember, I was speaking on us following and worshiping the gods of the other nations. God wasn't happy with that. And this is God speaking on that. He says, do not learn the way of the nations and do not be terrified by the signs of the heavens, because the nations are terrified by them. He says, for the customs of the peoples are a delusion. It is just a tree of the forest that is cut down, worked by the hands of the craftsman with his tool. They adorn it with silver and gold and fasten it with a hammer and nails so that it will not fall over. That's that Christmas tree. Now,
Yes, sir.
Now, when we look at Christmas, we look at the major symbol is a fat white man coming down the chimney tree, correct? And his name is Santa Claus. Well, let's do some subtraction and some addition. Let's take that N out of Santa and let's place that N at the end. So you spell Santa S-A-N-T-A. Let's move the N to the end. You got S-A-T-A-N. Satan. Huh? Claus.
Claws. Satan's claws.
And I'm going to let Brother Nazir slide in on the demonstration so he could build with me too, because I know he has some jewels to drop as well. But I want to say this, and I have to stress it. We got to let go of the fairy tales. We got to let go. We got to let go. The time is now. Slide in, Brother Nazir, and build with me on the Christmas tree and Christmas and Santa Claus.
I've been trying to get people away from the holidays for a long time. And, you know, your scripture that you're reading is the same, but they word it different because it doesn't say nation, it says heathens. Do not be in the way of the heathens. And it also says that they decked the tree with silver and with gold. You know, the same synonymous decked the halls with boughs of holly. They decked it with silver and the gold. And they talked about putting the star up on top. And then they said they fastened it with nails so it moved not. That's the description of the tree, of the Christmas tree in Jeremiah 10. You're on point, but they make mockery of something that can be beautiful, and they took the S-O-N of God and replaced it with the S-U-N, the sun. The star that's on top of the tree. They replaced it with the sun. And the gifts were brought to Jesus. And the only people I would say that have a merry, merry Christmas is those that we bring out of the red into the black. And our people and people in general drink more liquor and do more drugs, you know, at that time than any time besides like Thanksgiving and Easter, which is another pagan holiday, synonymous to the Playboy bunny represents this. It's the same bunny that represents the Playboy mansion and Playboy, which is fertility with the egg. They even escalate the size of the egg from jelly beans to an actual egg. And we don't even be careful that we're celebrating with Satan. We've been celebrating with Satan, what I haven't for 40 plus years, but our people have been celebrating with Satan in their ways as heathens for a long time. And then we make it about the children. That's the excuse that we use. We make it about the children. If we want our children to be serious, productive people, we got to start at a young age. We can't have our children growing up believing in fairy tales, believing in a New Year's baby, believing in Santa Claus, believing in Easter bunnies, a bunny laying eggs. Do you see the commercial they show every year? A bunny making chicken sounds. because Cadbury want to sell some chocolate eggs, and we don't even check the subliminals, bro. We don't recheck those subliminals. It's so many things that we can go there as far as like Christmas, Easter, those two in particular, because those are the one who they inject God into.
Can I ask you a question right quick? I wanted you to go back and cover something. I wanted to get the meaning of what you were saying. But before I say that, I just want to bring up Valentine's Day. That's the Cupid is always like the devil. But I'm gonna go back. Can you explain the part about the sun and the sun again?
They took the S-U-N of God out of Christmas and they replaced it with the S. They took the S-O-N, Son of God, and replaced it with the S-U-N. The star on top of the tree represent the sun, and they replaced it. And if you recall any times growing up during Christmas, it's very little focal point on the man we're celebrating. Very little. It's about going out. It's about going out and spending your money. And guess who benefits more during Christmas? Non-Christians. Non-Christians benefit more from Christmas. The people who we are going to spend our money with are not Christians. They're not.
They don't even believe in Jesus Christ.
Don't believe in Jesus. Don't even believe him to be the Christ. But they will put those decorations up. They will have a Christmas Day sale. They'll sell you mattresses. The Christmas at Sleepy's or Mattress Firm make any excuse to sell you something, even patronize you with your so-called holidays. It's just crazy. But I'm loving this conversation though.
I was just still thinking about the star, as they referred to it as the star, the North Star in Bethlehem that shined the brightest in the sky on the night that Christ was born. And then
Now,
thinking,
if we look at Good Friday,
mm-hmm.
if we look at Good Friday, I'm going to use Good Friday for instance. From
Mm-hmm.
the time Jesus was crucified till he resurrected, it's only one 24-hour period that goes by from Friday evening to Sunday morning. There's only one 24-hour period. So how is that 3 days later? They're not even adding right. Not even adding right. It's not making sense.
It's not. And the thing about it is, contrary to what many may believe, Good Friday is also a sales day in restaurant. The biggest seller, you got
definitely.
The biggest seller is the fish sandwich. You have every kind of restaurant that don't even sell fish selling some kind of fish sandwich on Good Friday.
See, they took a lot of that and used it for subversive purposes. The fish represent being a fisher of men, going out and bringing the brothers and the sisters in to worship with. You know, in the Nation of Islam, Brother Shank, no, we go, when they say go fishing, we're going to recruit people and bring people to the faith, invite them in. And then at the end, we ask them, you know, what you hear is what you heard is beneficial to our people. Would you like to join? That's what we do every day afterwards, after, you know, the lecture. But it's the fisher of men. Our people have been made a fool of in the name of God, especially with these holidays. These holidays have nothing to do with the people we celebrate. and they inject either God or Jesus in all of these holidays. I call them holidays.
So, what do you think about Thanksgiving?
Well, I call it thanks-taking. That's what I call it. I call it thanks-taking.
Is that sort of like when the so-called pilgrims came over and say that they were having dinner with the people of the land, but actually they were here to steal the land? But the one
Yes,
thing that was not noted in that was that the people were actually black people. They weren't white folks, but that's all that's in the pictures. It's like they came here and they had Thanksgiving, but the people that were here were actually blacks or Indians, and or well, both,
it was
right?
both. It was both. We were here already, and we were living in peace until the troublemakers of the earth, the troublemakers to this day of the earth came around
And at
and
that dinner of thanks, they
stole
served
land from us.
liquor and got them all drunk.
Exactly. And that's most case scenario today, because it doesn't matter what the celebration is, they always incorporate some type of, mind altering substance in every single holiday. Get us high and drunk. And most, that's how America was stolen. Was stolen that and paperwork. That and paperwork. And everything they'll put you in prison for. They did all that. If you can go to jail for it, they did it to establish this government.
Ain't that how they still continue to get us with
Yes.
that paperwork?
Paperwork.
Can I piggyback off that for just a moment, Shank, and change the subject just a little bit?
Go ahead, Mel.
I promise I won't go too far over. I was listening to someone last night, and they were talking about, I'm going to bring this up in the Diddy trial, how they are trying to rewrite the laws of the RICO in Diddy's trial so that now it will pretty much come what they call the rapper's law or some crazy thing. But they're trying to rewrite the RICO to fit into Diddy's trial so that they can get a conviction to take all of his money. Now, I read where that liquor company owes him like $2.1 billion. Even though he settled a suit with them, just the, what do you call it, the royalties, they owe him $2.1 billion. That's insane.
Well, my sister, I'll say this, and this is not hearsay, because I used to protect some of those artists. Never been to no parties or nothing. I'll go get the artists, bring them to the gig, and get them home. If they're not going home, wherever they're going, they're not going with me. Okay, but these people, it's a criteria that you must obtain to get to levels in the industry or any type of business. And these people do the dirt with you to get the dirt on you. And you have to do that dirt in order for you to climb up into a certain status in all of these industries, in particular, the music industry. They know he did what he did. Why? Because they were there doing it with him. You got it on him. So what he's being punished for is being, I'm going to say it how my mother used to say it, getting too big for your britches. They will give him enough to look down on his people and others, but for you to think that you can get on their level, that's a no-no. That's a no-no. And they see him as being sassy. They know he did what he did, and he's guilty of what he did, but guess what? he wouldn't have gotten to where he's at if he didn't do that dirt that was required for him to do to get to the level he's on. But being that they're the power structure, they can do it and get away with it, but he can't. Nobody's going to come after Clive Davis. I don't care if it's a prosecutor, a judge, a police officer. Guess what? They'll be done if they came after Clive Davis. They come after little Diddy, who was made. They made him, literally made that man. Literally made him.
And so, would you agree that he kind of stepped out of line when he did a interview in Vegas, I think, on a podcast. It was two guys with him, and he was talking about how he was going to take his money and get a lot of young people and then build something. I guess something away from what he was into or what was going on with him. To really listen to his interview was really very interesting, because it seems like he went down no long after that. Maybe because he came out and verbally stated what his next move was. Now that I got the bag, this is the way we gonna move as a people.
You let these people know that.
He did, though.
It should be too late for them to do anything about it, because if you let them know, do you know? See, a lot of people, we use these words and we don't know what we're talking about. We'll use COINTELPRO and not knowing what we're talking about. COINTELPRO is to counter your intelligence. And when you come out giving your intelligence, they're going to counter it. It has to be too late for them to do anything about what you're going to do. But to come out in public and say that, just like when Suge Knight, Jay Prince, Irv Gotti, and Master P was trying to start a distribution company, they told the wrong person. He went back to them and he told them, and every last one of them was ruined after that. But he at least tried to ruin them after they tried to start a distribution company to distribute music and movies. And the person who did was rewarded. Jay-Z was rewarded. He became president of Def Jam for a few years, and his label, his status label, was raised after that. But what those brothers was doing was a good job, because they wanted to get people out their pockets and change the dynamic of what type of music and movies that we put out that, represent our people, as the brother Shank was saying earlier. But
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Diddy did everything he's accused of. He did everything he's accused of. And that's how they get you, and that's how they try to keep you. And none of these people would go out unscathed. None of them. If you did dirt, they can shelf that. They can shelf a case until they get ready for you. And you will not be a tool in a shed collecting dust after these people get finished with you, because they break their tools when they're done with them. They break them. You see what they're doing to Diddy? And it's more coming. They break their tools when they're done with them. You won't be a dusty tool in the shed. No, you won't. They break them. Because if you think that it has to be us coming together and not allowing. We can't feel guilty about not allowing outsiders in. Our problem is we feel guilty when we say this is family business and you can't come in. We got to stop feeling guilty, because we are guilty of that. Of saying we invite everybody to come in, and then they go back and tell everything we're planning. And it don't be anything nefarious, because every time they sent in agents, whether they look like us, they have to look like us in order to infiltrate. The brothers will go back and say, look, these people are legit. They're not doing anything illegal, anything nefarious. They are what they say they are. Guess what the government does? Go back and make something happen. Go back and destroy that. I want that program and that organization neutralized. Go, i.e. William O'Neill. Brother Chet know what I'm talking about.
That's
You know
facts.
what I'm talking about. William O'Neill. He could go back and make something happen. I want that organization destroyed. And that's how they came in and destroyed our organizations by sending somebody who looked like us in.
And
They're the obvious. They're the obvious. They have to look like us to get close to us to infiltrate.
Now, I believe that because I think that even when I listened to the testimony of his CFO, he stated in his testimony that those were Diddy's plan. And so he was planning this long time ago because they already knew that he was that dude. He had a big influence on the culture. I believe they sent. He might have did some horrible things. I believe they sent Cassie and all them ones after her. I believe they sent them there.
Could be. Yeah, you can't deny. You know, I can't confirm it, but I can't deny it either. Can't, because that happens because they send their own daughters to get their money back. They send their own daughters. I want my money back. It would be no generational wealth. This man is worth 300, 400 million. Go get my money.
And then look at it. Out of all of the ones that they sent, look how much money Cassie got.
Yeah, over 30 million. Which is nothing.
All the years that she endured that. But then she gets up and she tells all her nasty secrets. And now, to me, she kind of defamed herself. And then this is my theory. Her white husband gonna turn around and take it off from her. That's my theory, but I might be wrong.
No, that's facts.
That's facts.
Let me switch lanes back to some of these statistics. Now I'm gonna read the Latino statistics. It says while some research suggests a higher percentage of Hispanic households may receive public assistance compared to white households, it's important to consider the broader context of the data. Factors like immigration status, language barriers, and access to other resources can significantly influence these numbers. Here's a more detailed look. Higher rates of public assistance. Studies have shown that Hispanic households, particularly first-generation immigrants, tend to have higher rates of public assistance receipt compared to white households. Food stamp program. A significant portion of food stamp recipients are Hispanic, with nearly 1 in 5 food stamp households headed by a Latino individual. Many eligible Latino families, however, are not participating in the program, highlighting the importance of outreach and awareness. Immigration status. Immigration status plays a crucial role. Non-citizen households, including legal and undocumented immigrants, tend to have higher rates of public assistance use compared to U.S.-born households. Barriers to access, language barriers, lack of awareness about eligibility, and cultural differences can create barriers to accessing public assisting programs. Some studies also suggest that distrust of government institutions and fear of deportation among some immigrant communities can also hinder participation. The Latino paradox. Some researchers have observed a phenomenon known as the Latino paradox, where despite higher poverty rates, Hispanic communities tend to have lower rates of homelessness compared to other racial groups. This may be due to strong social networks and informal support system within these communities. While eligible Hispanic families may need support, they may not fully utilize available public assistance programs. Multiple factors. It's important to consider that the data on public assistance is multifaceted and influenced by various factors, including social economic status, education levels, employment opportunities, and access to health care.
Well, with some of those statistics, especially when it comes to the Latino households, the difference is that as Black people, when our kids turned 18, the first thing most of them did was got kicked out of the house. It's just true. Their families stay together as they families stay together longer. You know what I mean? As they continue to support the nucleus of the family. So if the immigrants are the mother and the grandmother, and the grandmother and the grandfather, that's the nucleus of their family dynamic. So everything after that is going to support the nucleus to make sure that they're taken care of to the day they leave the earth. So that's the daughter and her husband, or the son and his wife, and then their kids, and then the grandkids, and they're all living in this under the same roof, but the nucleus is getting the benefits and everybody else is working. And if they're working illegally, none of that is going to come up in the nucleus of that family, who are still illegal immigrants, but are still able to collect those benefits from us. And then everything else around them is working. Everybody's working somewhere. I don't care if they're a handyman, working under the table, keeping somebody's children, housekeeping, whatever. And then those kids are going to school. And next thing you know, they got federal Pell Grants, and the money's just. And then, and as long as that nucleus is there, that's it. And then now the nucleus becomes the mama and the dad. But by this time, the kids are kind of branching out on their own now, because they're getting married and they're doing things. But the nucleus is the center of everything is always going to be the nucleus, which starts with the first set of illegal immigrants, and it just carries on. As Blacks, we got to a point where we stopped living together like that, or as parents, you're 18, you got to leave the house. So either that person left the house and went to the military, or they jumped off the porch and started doing their own thing, right? But they didn't come back to support the nucleus. You feel me?
Facts.
And that's why those statistics, it's hard to measure them, because at some point when it comes to the Latinos, as the nucleus shrinks, they become more successful. Now that happens sometimes in the Black situation as well. But for most part, when it comes to African Americans, getting the things from the system, it's generational. It goes from the mom, then it goes to the daughter, or the son, and it just goes. So that's why sometimes those statistics are hard to measure. And then when it comes to like the part where they measure, like I did a search where I wanted to know how many Black families are together now as opposed to 10, 15 years ago, even 20 years ago. Even though the statistics shows a kind of high amount of like 46%, but what affects that, which it could be higher, is a man that has a child or two with somebody else, but he's in another household where he also has kids, but say that mom is still single with no father there. You see how that statistic can be kind of offset? Mm-hmm. But actually, the man probably has another family and is in that home. But as long as that mom is single with those kids, that affects our statistics in that way as well.
A lot of Latinos, Hispanics, whatever you want to call them, a lot of them, they deal with their parents like they use the matriarchal narrative, and they'll get a house and they'll all live in it, and people won't move out until they got a house. That's how they do it. They'll move in, and all that money that people make is contributed to the house. I know people who I work with, they give their money to their parents because they deal with the matriarchal, patriarchal, and you don't move out until you're married and with your own home. That's how
Absolutely.
a lot of, but a lot of us don't kick our children out when they're 18. I know I didn't. Put it that way. I know I
No,
did.
not all of us do. Not everybody do. But or some kids just left at 18. I'll put it that way.
I left against my parents' wishes. I left because my mother and father were married since they were 17. Okay, 17 years old. They're no longer with us, but they were married when they were 17, and he had a responsibility. They had 10. So they were married when they were 17. They had children, 7 of us. He was a young man growing up with his children. So I only had me to take care of. I said, look, I graduated. By the end of the summer, I was at my own spot. By the end of the summer, I graduated. I was at my own spot. You get sentimental. You want to go spend the night with your parents because you miss them. So, long as I can come spend the night, I'm good. I was good.
Now, do you agree with, it's okay to stay home? Say like my youngest daughter, she stayed home until she was 23 and she joined the Air Force. But she went to school and she worked. You know what I mean? I didn't really require much, but just, her being raised and sometimes great times and sometimes struggle, she knew the struggle. So for me, as her mom, she volunteered. Okay, mom, okay, I'm gonna pay the light bill and my water bill. I never asked her for anything. I just wanted her to save her money to one day get ready to move, be ready to move on her own. Taught her how to pay. I taught her how to pay bills, when to pay them. Your bills come first and everything is later. But things that she volunteered to do, I did not unvolunteer her. I let her do those things. Because I knew that she had to learn to pay bills when she's out, we all want the best. So are you guys for or against taking money from your teenage adults that are still living at home?
I'm for it. I think that should be, how we move. I think everybody should stay home until that one house is paid off of, and then move on. So I think that children should definitely. Now it could be, should they take should the kids give the parents the whole paycheck, or should it be a percentage of the paycheck? I think that teenage children should work and give the parents a percentage of their paycheck. I believe so.
Because you have to teach them that when they're out on their own as adults, you have to pay your bills first. But if you just let them go to work and then they spend all their money on stuff, Birkin bags and, all of that, because one day you do have to you do have to take care of the responsibilities once you are out on your own, whether it's a girl or a guy. But I just wanted to know your thoughts on that. Like, do you agree with taking money from a teenage adult that's still living at home?
Yeah. Now let me switch lanes to the Asian Americans statistics, and then we're gonna get out of here. While Asian Americans as a whole have a lower overall poverty rate than some other racial and ethnic groups, certain subgroups, particularly Southeast Asian and some immigrant groups, experience higher rates of poverty and welfare dependency. These disparities are often linked to factors like language barriers, lack of familiarity with the welfare system and difficulties transitioning from welfare to work. Overall poverty and welfare use. In 2022, over 2.3 million Asian Americans lived in poverty. While Asian Americans have a lower overall poverty rate than some other groups, it's important to note that this is an average and poverty rates vary significantly by ethnicity and country of origin. It says some Asian immigrant groups, particularly those from Southeast Asia, have higher rates of welfare dependency than other immigrant groups. Language barriers, it says limited English proficiency can hinder access to information about and enrollment in welfare programs as well as job opportunities. Lack of familiarity with the system. Some immigrants, especially those who did not seek out government assistance in their home countries, may be unfamiliar with the U.S. welfare system and how to access it. Difficulties transitioning to work. Many Asian immigrants face challenges like lack of job skills, low wages, and lack of health benefits, which can make it difficult to transition from welfare to work. Cultural factors. Cultural norms around seeking help, particularly from the government, can also play a role. Now, the main reason why I wanted to give the welfare statistics for each race, because I wanted everyone to see all races, one way or another in this country receive government assistance. So to focus in on Black Americans and say that Black Americans is lazy, Black Americans are using welfare, then you would have to say that to the Latinos. You have to say that to the Asians. You have to say that to the whites, because those groups receive welfare as well.
You know, I don't like when, especially people who work for the government, talk about people who receive welfare. That's not cool, because a lot of them have money that they haven't earned. A lot of those government officials, they have money that they didn't earn. And a welfare system is for those who, don't have a means of income, a way to take care of themselves and their family. And if while you're working, you are contributing to the system, if you fall on hard times and you lose your employment, it should be easy for you to get something that you contributed to. Because if you invest, you are a damn shareholder. Am I correct? Mm-hmm. If you invested, you're a shareholder. Mm-hmm. And you can only be a shareholder if you invest. So therefore, if you got somebody work 5, 6 years, 10 years, and they lost their job, they shouldn't have to jump through loops to get what they invested in for years. But they act like they're giving us something out their pocket, when in all reality, if you are a government official, we are paying you. Mm. We're paying you. So you don't want to pinch off of what we contributed to. I understand we shouldn't sit back and be dependent on it for, a certain amount of time. If you can find employment, get it. But if somebody, invested in the welfare system or any of these, when we pay taxes, we contribute to all of that, all of it. So it should be a problem. I've seen families go and get it. They didn't look like us. I see whole families go in there and they get it as a family. And that's how it should be. If a man loses his job, he's been taking care of his family, paying taxes. If he loses his job, they should be able to get it as a family. Not kick the man out. They should be able to get it as a family. But you know how the bloodsuckers of the poor do.
Mm-hmm.
The bloodsuckers of the poor.
And on that note, any last words before we get out of here, Brother Nazir? I got some Father's Day dinner coming my way, and I'm going to get ready. Any last words, Brother Nazir?
I thank you for allowing me to come up, brother. It's always a pleasure speaking and building with you. Peace, salute, greetings to Mel. I appreciate the conversation, sis. And brother, you know what it is. We got to do that one, though, brother.
We got to get together with that hip hop. We got to do the hip hop.
We got to do that one, brother. It's just let me know. You got my email. I got yours. Just let me know when I'm there.
Let's do it tomorrow at 12:30. 12:30 noon.
I'm at work. I don't get out to 5:30. 5:30, I got to work.
Let's do it tomorrow evening at 9 p.m. I'm going to set it up. So at 9 p.m. tomorrow, we on it.
We there. Yes,
all
sir,
right,
brother.
Salute, right, Brother Nazir. All right. Any last words, Mel?
No, I would have told him Happy Father's Day to you, Shank, and all of the men that's in the chat. That is one, Mother's Day and Father's Day are probably the only two holidays that are worth noting. And, we just have to keep building and understanding where we are, how these systems were designed. And when he said that there are a lot of politicians that got money they didn't earn, these systems were designed not to be in place for a long time, but they became a money grab. Yep. And now we see with all of the things that were found by Doge and all of the money that, they were finding, like, 27 million for housing. But I know people that was trying to get on HUD for 7 years and was never able to get there. So those are things that are worth noting. And just worth noting is that if the systems are available to you, that they're always a step up. You just have to use them correctly, and they'll work out for you in the end. And, just the family nucleus, I can say that there are more, Black families, there's more Black men that are remaining around in the family now, as opposed to just, leaving. They're beginning to invest in their children, and that's the most important, is, investing in the kids and how we teach them how to move through all of the noise. And I salute.
Appreciate you, Mel. Thanks for the Happy Father's Day.
You're welcome.
Ladies, thank you all for wishing us a Happy Father's Day. Salute. I'll see everybody back at 8 p.m. for our own Jante. She's going to be bringing us her story. And also, if you have a story of you being SA'd by someone, whether it happened when you was a child or whether it happened while you was an adult, and if you would like to share your story with us, feel free to join me on the panel later on this evening at 8 p.m. if you would like to tell your story. I appreciate everybody for pulling up, and I'll see everybody back at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're on the West Coast, it's going to be 5 p.m. All right. Salute everybody, and I'll see y'all later on. Why do you think Keefe D is trying to throw you under the bus by implicating you being in the Tupac's murder?
Well, to be honest, I think it's all the conspirators out there, or the conspiracy channels that's out there, that's feeding his head. I saw that his son been dealing with this white guy. I don't want to call him assaulting, like I want to say, but this guy that got a wig on his hair. I call him Uncle Fester. He got a channel, and they've been pushing that theory and snitch no joke and all of them. They be pushing no theory. So when you start listening to all of them, and the PI that the court appointed them came out with this theory with it being on the case for 3 or 4 days. And then they were like, oh, it was Reggie Wright Jr. We got, but as the DA and everybody told me, say, Reggie, that's just a delayed tactic. They trying to delay the tactic. They got it pushed back a year. And so, hey, what we care? He's sitting in jail, and so is this a delay tactic? Maybe they hoping some witnesses change their mind or die or something come up. But if you're innocent, you want a speedy trial. But if you know you're gonna be sitting down for a while anyway, you'll be like, well, it's easier for my people to come and visit me at LA County Jail than it is, or Las Vegas County Jail than it is to whatever penitentiary they send you, because they can send you to anywhere in the state then. So I think that's what the plan is. And hey, give yourself a chance. Give yourself some type of defense.
Right.
So I ain't mad at him for trying.
Yeah. Now I did hear him mention something about the witness. He said, yeah, the key witness is the one. Are you a witness for the state? Are you going to be a witness in that case?
I went before the grand jury and testified to the atmosphere. I wasn't there. I was at the club. I was 2 miles away from where all of that happened. Right. The only thing I could testify to is the atmosphere, just what was going on around Death Row, the beef between Bad Boys and Death Row at the time, and all of that. That's all they asked me about. That's all I testified about. You know, some of the procedures of how they roll and the security procedures and the lack of security or whatever that took place. That's all I talked about. The key witness is himself.
Right.
And then his homeboy, this dude named Dirt Rock, that used to live with one of the guys that was in the car. That's telling everything that dude was telling him. And guys from the South Side Compton Crips. Reggie Wright is an element guy. He wasn't there. How can you be the key witness if you're not there? So that's just people talking and running their mouths and throwing out opinions and all of that. It sounds good for the headline. Who else has a bigger name out here concerning that, that you can possibly throw the blame on? He fucked up. What he should have been saying is Reggie Wright paid me or had me do it. Then that would be like, oh, okay, he's saying that. But just to say Reggie Wright, is the one that did it and I wasn't there. And after I've been bragging about it and I ain't crazy, ask anybody. One day y'all just play it and then go to a sane person, a type of person that's generally going to be on a jury, meaning an auntie or an older cousin or something like that, and say, you got this guy that's saying, oh, I did this, I did that on BET, on Death Row Chronicles, on YouTube, wrote a book and all of that. And he's been confessing to doing this. And so the first question will be, well, is he crazy? No, he ain't crazy. He's sane. And he said all of this. Guilty. Now, people in the YouTube and all of that, we're a little different. We listen to this motherfucker now that's talking about UFOs and stuff like that on Vlad channel.